It's the crazy Big 12. We don't know who's going to be good when. Take into consideration the plight of these programs in recent years. Baylor won the Big 12 championship in 2021. Then 6-6, 3-9. TCU, of course, 5-7 before they went to the national championship game. And then 5-7. And then up to 9-4. This is crazy. Think about Colorado, obviously. They've gone up since Deion Sanders took over, from 1 win to 4 to 9, and then who knows what they're going to do without Shedeur Sanders and without Travis Hunter. Iowa State, Matt Campbell had them climbing. Then 4-8. Now they've rebounded, 7 wins, and then a Big 12 championship game appearance last year with 11 wins. Oklahoma State, consistent under Mike Gundy, right? Not in the new Big 12 where they went to the championship game 2 years ago and then 0-9 in the conference. Everybody's up and down all over the place, except Kansas State. If you were going to put a wager on who's going to have the best record in the Big 12 over the span of, let's say, 5 seasons, bet Kansas State. Consistent contender in this conference. However, can they put it all together in one season to win the conference championship? They did, of course, in defeating TCU in 2022. Chris Kleiman has a fine program, 5-4 in the conference, but they won all the non-conference games, including a comeback win against Rutgers to get to 9-4. But can they push through to a Big 12 championship game? It starts with Avery Johnson at quarterback, of course, 25 touchdowns and a 58% completion percentage. So that can improve, of course. He's a threat on the ground, 605 yards rushing. And consider that was his first full season starting after he started the bowl game when Will Howard transferred to Ohio State the season before. So this is coming up on a second consecutive starting season. His improvement could be drastic, especially under new offensive coordinator Matt Wells. The running back position, DJ Giddens, has gone after racking up 1,343 yards as one of the best backs in the nation. Dylan Edwards, we first saw him at Colorado, of course, as one of those weapons for Shedeur Sanders, but he transferred to Kansas State last year, didn't get more than 8 carries in a game, but then broke out in the bowl game when Giddens was not available. 196 yards against the Scarlet Knights. Joe Jackson had 227 rushing last season for Kansas State. At wide receiver, the only certainty is Jace Brown, coming off 47 catches and 5 touchdowns. Had a fine yards per catch average as well. The rest of these guys that Kansas State picked up through the transfer portal, basically journeyman type guys that have had some decent seasons. They've played a lot of football and been fairly productive, but none of them a standout. It starts with Gerard Bradley, who caught 98 passes and 12 touchdowns in all of his seasons at Boston College and Texas Tech. His best single season was 2022 with 51 catches for the Red Raiders. You've got Caleb Medford, who's caught 48 passes in his career at New Mexico and at TCU. And what about Jerron Tibbs? 25 catches last season for Purdue in 2024. The Kansas State offensive line should be stout with Sam Hecht, all Big 12 center, and right guard Taylor Portier leading the way. The Wildcats have received transfer portal additions along the O-line from Ohio State, USC, Penn State, and Pitt. This was the 31st total offense in college football last year, and they could be better despite the absence of DJ Giddens. Stop me if you've heard this before. The Kansas State defense won't necessarily be on the high end of talent, but they will be tough, and they will be focused, and they will be technically sound, and it will revolve around an experienced, productive linebacking core. This defense finished 43rd in college football last year in yards given up per game, 50th in scoring defense. That not quite up to Kansas State standards. 3 experienced defensive linemen are back, but they had no real impact in terms of sacks or tackles for loss. They were just journeyman-type players, but they are experienced in the system and were in the rotation, led by Cody Stufflebean with 19 tackles last year and 2 sacks. It's the linebacking core, as I mentioned, that leads this defense. Austin Romaine, 96 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss. Desmond Purnell had 46 stops and 9.5 of those behind the line of scrimmage. Rex Van Wy, 31 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss. Let's go to the secondary with 3 starters gone, but not this guy. Strong safety VJ Payne, 64 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions. They also have a free safety coming in from Arizona, where he made 25 starts for the Wildcats. That is Gunnar Maldonado. Kansas State will probably play its share of close games, and they will have to turn to field goal kicking late and special teams. The special teams always sound at Kansas State, but in regards to a kicker, they're going to rely on a true freshman in replacing Chris Tennant, who hit on 17 of 21. Now let's check out the schedule, and it all starts in week 0. I love this matchup against Iowa State. We get a Big 12 showdown right out of the gate in week 0 in Dublin. Iowa State, Kansas State, of course, they finished up in the snow last year in Ames, Iowa. Kansas State's other non-conference games, actually, of note would be September 6th against Army. Then actually it doesn't look like they've got another decent non-conference game, or if you really look at it, it appears as though, well, Kansas State, what's going on here? They only play 2 non-conference games. What? Well, the Arizona game, although Arizona now a second-year member of the Big 12, that's a non-conference game because these 2 teams scheduled to play before Arizona jumped to the Big 12. Therefore, last season's game against Arizona was a non-conference game. Ditto this year in 2025, September 12th in Tucson against the Wildcats. And then let's focus on the Big 12 games that count. After the Iowa State affair back in August, Kansas State will dive back into conference play in late September. There's no Arizona State on the schedule, so that's good news for the Wildcats. Other than that, nothing that you can really point to. This is a typical Big 12 schedule where we really don't know where it's strong. We can take our guesses. We've got to lean toward the likes of Texas Tech being good and TCU and Baylor and Utah in particular. So Baylor, TCU back-to-back looks like a key stretch for Kansas State. Also, Kansas and Texas Tech back-to-back. And then in those final 2 weekends, taking on Utah on the road, shoot, that could turn out to be a bid for a conference championship game appearance when the Utes and the Wildcats get together in Utah on November 22nd. I like this Kansas State team. Again, Avery Johnson, after 1 full season as starting quarterback, gets that year 2 boost as he locks in under Matt Wells as the offensive coordinator. The Wildcats go 10-2. They go 7-2 in the conference. Will that be enough to get them to the Big 12 championship game? And of course, that auto bid to the playoff. We shall see. Week 0, we're all going to get together for a big live stream, and we might be on here for 10 hours. I don't know. We're going to go through the entire season starting week 0 and pick every game with you right here at the Voice of College Football.